Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Realtor listeners. Today I have Heather Smith. She is the Chief Visionary Officer and co-founder of StoryFile. Thank you, Heather, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I have to ask that in your intro, the skyline, where are you located?
San Diego.
That's what I thought. I knew it.
There you go.
I actually used to live in Coronado, so I saw that skyline all the time.
Oh, yeah. No, it's usually by Petco Park or the skyline can usually sell it to me.
It's a beautiful skyline, actually. Really, really is. Very
well,
impressive.
We had rain the other day, so people were freaking out. So that was our San Diego life here.
Wow, cool.
Well, anyways, let's get to Heather right here. So this is, StoryFile is such an interesting platform. And before I even get going on it, if you guys have a second, go into the show notes and go on Instagram or the website, and you'll see stuff about StoryFile. But I was talking to Heather before we got onto Mike. One of the questions I usually ask, because if anyone knows anything about me, I'm really into sci-fi, kind of geek out and that kind of stuff. And I always say, if you could upload your consciousness to a computer, would you do it for your next generations? And StoryFile has kind of a similar theme with a lot more safety to it right there. But AI interactive. Well, how would you describe it, Heather?
What you just said was really cool. It is, it's been said before that we're doing things that was only available, you could only imagine in sci-fi or in movies before, but we're making it real. And that is, you can actually have a conversation with a video of an individual and have a back and forth, get to know them through the video that they've left you. So it's a really cool, it's an amazing experience. It's an amazing experience to do the interview with your family, and it's an amazing experience for you as the interviewee as well.
Well, let's rewind, Heather. There's probably going to be a really strong story that came up with this idea. Was this young Heather? Where did this idea even come from?
So I got involved in doing these immersive, kind of experiential exhibitions. Okay. And they always seem to revolve around the Holocaust or genocide for whatever reason. And so I was having a lot of conversations with Holocaust survivors specifically. And it just occurred to me one day when we were in between takes, and I was sitting down chatting with a survivor, that my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, grandchildren would never have the same opportunity that I was having. And they were just so inspiring. And so then I started thinking about the whole generation that, they call it the greatest generation, but they have so much to teach us and so many different life experiences that my generation probably won't have to go through, or won't go through the advances in technology, the complete change of life. It's an amazing thing. They didn't have microwaves. They didn't have, some of them didn't even have freezers. They lived through an unprecedented period of the growth in this world. And I just wanted to capture that. And I wanted to capture it in a way that I just didn't have to sit down and watch, a 2.5-hour video or a 4-hour video of this person just talking about their life. I wanted to ask the questions. I wanted my curiosity to lead the conversation. And what I later found out, or maybe I intuitively knew this, you learn 6 times better when you're having a conversation, you're asking questions versus reading or watching a video. So it makes sense why, we learn things from the minute we're born through asking questions, through trying things out, through, watching other people as we grow up. why not continue that with people that we don't necessarily have access to, but why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we all be able to talk to a president and ask them our own questions and learn about them? Why shouldn't we be able to talk to our great great grandparents? Why shouldn't we be able to talk to a person maybe that was just diagnosed with a disease that you were diagnosed with yesterday or that morning, and you want to find out what you're going to go through? Why shouldn't we find out physics from the best teacher in the world? The best physics teacher in the world. Get your questions answered right away instead of sending an email and getting a response the next day. Why shouldn't you just be able to go to any site, ask a question verbally, get an answer, and you're done? So that's what we wanted to build.
You talked about this all kind of stemmed from, I guess, a Holocaust event that you were filming. So was it your business, or were you a videographer, or what was your background before?
No, background was in exhibition design. So I had my own company. I thought of this concept, and it was kind of me imagining and taking things that I saw happening in technology and in the world and saying, okay, if you could do this, then why can't you do that?
Okay.
So I went to a couple different organizations that I knew I'd have to partner with in order to actually produce it. So I partnered with those institutions. We didn't know if it would work the way I had envisioned. It took about 4 or 5 years until we knew it worked, and quite a bit of money later. But it did exactly what we wanted it to do, which was make a real connection through these conversations that people were able to have with people that didn't have to be present to have them.
Getting back to, I guess, the idea of starting a business. I mean, what was the original business venture that kind of got you on track to, I guess, to build this company? What was that original business that you started?
Yeah, so as we were going around the world and we were having people interact with the survivors, and we needed people to ask them questions, and we needed data.
Okay.
The one question we kept getting was, can I do this myself? Oh my God, this is so cool. Can I do this with the founder of our company? Can I do this with my aunt who's just diagnosed with this? This would be amazing for teaching kids. I mean, we got this question constantly for years, at least 2.5 years before we said, all right, we stopped around, I think it was around 2016, we stopped and said, all right, what would need to happen for us to really do this? Technology wasn't quite there yet. Then in about 2017, we said, I think that we can actually do it. So we started StoryFile in order to make this methodology or this technology or this way of communicating. We started this company to make it ubiquitous. So we started this company with the idea that everyone will be able to have a story file for themselves. They would be using story files in their daily life. Companies would be using it. People would be using it. Teachers would be using it. Everyone who just, has these questions asked of them all the time. Think about the conversations that you have probably on, and people ask you the same questions.
Yeah.
What if they talk to your story file, you answered those same questions, and then the time that they actually got with you, your conversation would be completely different. So it's just getting people to know about other people, getting them to know each other. You could talk to someone in a different corner of the world that you would never go to, never be, and learn what their life is like and learn about them. It just gives you access to knowledge. How about that?
No, I mean, it's great. I mean, so the original, I guess, core business that was before StoryFile, if I'm reading to the lines, was doing what StoryFile is doing now, but more on the corporate level with like bigger events, and you were kind of filming it. You were actually kind of coordinate the AI, but StoryFile brings it more to the masses for an individual can do it.
Yeah, we had to build a platform.
Okay.
We had to build an automated system because the work that I was doing with the Holocaust survivors was very manual.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to produce. So we needed to, get that down to a couple hours
Yeah.
and have everything automatically processed and and put together, and out comes your story file in real time. That was the only way it was really going to work.
The
So we started StoryFile in order to build that infrastructure, that
now
platform.
I guess the end user,
Mm.
I guess not the end user, but more the person that's paying the bills. Right now, it's going to be the individual paying the bills. While back then, it might be a company or entity. So you're only negotiating or conversing. Or sorry, go ahead.
Well, we license a SaaS platform called Conversa,
Okay.
and it basically allows companies to make their own
Okay.
StoryFile content.
Yeah.
We have major companies that license that platform.
What's the difference though of selling to a company compared to selling to an individual? Because is it I mean pretty different, or is it fairly similar, or how do you look at it?
Um, at the end of the day, companies are just made out of people,
Okay.
and it's all about developing content for a specific audience.
Okay.
So it's not that different. I think that the difference between this is right now the technology is so new
Mhm.
that we need to help the companies kind of think about it, how to use it best, how to be most efficient, produce them most efficiently. Um, help them with the scripting and help them with the what do you want the end user to experience. For individuals and individual families, it's more about taking kind of a white glove approach where we walk you through, this is how you set up your computer. This is, do you want to use a webcam? Do you want to use your computer camera? Do you want to be interviewed by someone else, or you want to do it yourself? Let's think about lighting. Let's think about where you want to do it. Let's think about what you're wearing. So it's a little more personal,
Mhm.
sure. And then helping them pick out the questions that they should be answering to best represent and talk about their life. We do all of that with clients. So,
So maybe I guess a little more hand holding is kind of like
well,
the
yeah, because it's so new. Nobody knows
yeah.
you can. I mean, talking to video isn't. It will be a thing in 5 years. Everybody will be talking to video.
Yeah.
Through these story files that'll be developed. You'll be able to talk to the director of the film you're going to go see over the weekend. It'll be a thing. You'll be able to talk to your 15-year-old self.
Mm.
Your kids will be able to talk to you at 15 or 30 or 40. It's kids will do it every 5-10 years, probably same list of questions, and then add on as they experience different, go through different life cycle events. They'll use it in customer service, they'll use it in banking, they'll use it in finding products, or onboarding. When you get a new job, you'll talk to story files in order to be trained and in order to get information after you're trained that you forgot. So, yeah, there's so many. I mean, one of the best use cases, there's a teacher that wants to use it. She teaches autistic kids,
Okay.
and they're constantly trying to get them to socialize and be comfortable having conversations with people.
Hmm.
And what a better way than to put them on with these individuals that they don't know, and then allow them to have conversations and practice asking questions and maintaining that conversation. There's a gentleman that was diagnosed with ALS, who did an amazing StoryFile for his family. He had 2 very young children. It's a very sad situation, but those children will be able to get to know him. The only memory that they'll have of him is probably going to be in a state where he can't physically talk to them or, walk around and things like that. So the StoryFile allows them to see who he was before all of that happened. It also allows you to clone your voice because you've got such a wide, you've got such a lengthy database of your voice that you can use that to train these computers that talk for you after you've lost your ability to speak.
No.
So, yeah, some people are doing some amazing things with it. We're really excited to see how creative people can get.
And I know not StoryFile, but I guess the company you had before, that was more of a corporation. How has technology changed from when you originally started with the other company to how it is today?
The infrastructure, when I said earlier that we had to wait until there was infrastructure and that we'd be able to do what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Things like 5G things like video upload and download, computer capacities, processing power, the video, the cameras on your devices, speech recognition has gotten so much better over the years. Natural language processing, we're constantly pushing natural language processing in order to make the conversations more realistic. That's come a long way in the last 6 years. Then you consider from the professional studio shoots that we used to do for, like we'll do for museums still, or we'll do for corporation companies that want to do, maybe they want to interview their board over the last, 50 years, whoever's still alive. So the cameras, if they want to do what we'd call and now I'm spacing on the name. You film for 360. I'm spacing on it. Anyway, you film for a 360, so you can put that character into like AR situation or a VR space. Or the idea is that when true hologram technology comes about, like the little glasses from Apple or HoloLens, etc., you'll be able to process that that data that you've captured and put that visualize it through these new displays. So it's that capture has come a long way, and what you can do with that data has come a long way. Just things like that, I think, for the most part.
How far out do you think that would be for where you can actually have these conversations, like you're saying, with like through VR and other goggles?
As soon as the devices come out.
Okay. Do you have an idea? I mean, like 10 years down the road, 5 years?
I've been waiting for them for 3-4 years, so okay. I don't know what's taking them so long. I can't say. I do know that Apple just bought a company that was supposedly produced the lenses for them, so they can't be that far away. I don't know. I thought that Magic Leap would crack it, and they didn't seem to do it. So we'll see. We'll see who's able to do it. But you have to have the processing power. That's what I think most of the companies are working on right now. I know we are, is in order to process that data, in order to produce a VR 360 image of you in a VR space. So you're putting a 360 visualization inside of another visualization that you can walk around in. That's a lot of processing power to do that. So, and it takes a long time if you don't have that processing power. So it's prohibitive, really, if you don't have some sort of computer system that is rigged up to actually do it, which they're getting pretty, they're getting better at. They will, and it'll continue to come down in price. So
what has been, I guess, the biggest like hurdle you've had to kind of work through in building a
Mhm.
story file?
It's tough when you're trying to shift behavior, let's say.
Okay.
It's it I think you just because you have the technology to do something doesn't necessarily mean that it has a commercial application
Mm,
or that people are ready for it. So you have to time it. I think a lot of times it has to be a moment where you have to really prove your case. You have to really show people how easy it is to do and the value of it. Um, and then just slowly work through the entire world and get them all on board using it. It's it just it will become ubiquitous and everybody will be using it. It's just a matter of time.
What's the best method? Because I mean, I know on your Instagram you
Mm,
have some interactions where you can watch, like we talked about a Santa one where the kids
mhm,
can talk to Santa on there. I
mhm.
mean, for you, what's been the best way of getting the message out there about StoryFile?
That's a great question. Uh, Probably PR, more than anything. People read about it.
Okay.
They see it in action somewhere through some channel. They the one thing I would say is you have to try it for yourself.
Yeah.
And because it's like go on to storyfile.com and have a conversation with William Shatner, for example. That's when you really feel, oh yeah, I get it. Like that's the kind of aha moment, and then you realize what it could do.
Has there been any kind of times where you've maybe had negative kind of responses where the people say it's not going to work or things like that?
You know what? Never.
Wow. Okay, that's great.
Not one. We've had people that they, obviously have chosen not to invest, but not one of them has said it's because they don't think it'll work or it's not a great idea or it's not a great product.
What's
That's typically not their reason. Actually, we've never had anyone say that they weren't going to invest because they didn't think it would work.
Is it usually like what's usually the reason that
For
they
not
don't go?
investing,
Yeah.
I call it the Goldilocks syndrome.
Wow.
You're either this one's too soft, this one's too hard. Oh, you're not. You're two in the middle. You're two. One over this way for this person, and this way you're too consumer. You're too entrepreneur. You're too SaaS product. It's finding that perfect match
Yeah.
for, with investors and who gets it, who really gets it and wants to be on this journey of literally changing the way that we communicate.
Mm,
You changing behavior for people, allowing people to have access to, you could have access to literally millions of stories
mm.
from individuals. And just ask your own question, get an answer from whomever you want to talk to. It's a you need to it takes a special kind of investor to really understand and want to be on a journey like that.
I mean, usually in the podcast we've talked about, okay, well, how did you start the company? Where did the idea come from? I
Mhm.
mean, how did you find your partner and that kind of stuff? And because I
Mhm.
have so much excitement about StoryFile and
Mhm.
kind of what you guys offer, we never kind of did that. So I mean, one of the questions that I'd probably have is if you were to start another company that's totally separate from StoryFile, for people, especially for people listening. I mean, what is something you would like the first thing you would do to go, hey, I have this great idea. I need to find a partner. I need to find an investor. I mean, what would be that first thing you would do?
If I were to do something other
Something's
than
totally
story,
different. Like, so if someone else is listening, they can kind of take that nugget away of going, hey, you know what? I want to start this business. I mean,
hmm,
is there something that pops in your head? Go, this is any entrepreneur needs to do this before they start a company,
before they start a company, or
before or early on. Just make something that's like,
uh,
I know I'm throwing you on the spot right there, Heather.
well, okay. So as far as starting your company, know what you're good at, know what you're not good at.
Okay.
Wait, what are you strong at? What are you not strong at? Get the best people around you that are good at what you're not good at. I would encourage people, a lot of people say, I don't want to look stupid in front of this one or that one, or, an investor or this, but truly, who's expected to know everything? And if you haven't done something, you need to learn how to do it, and you need to learn fast. And the best way to do that is to talk to people, ask them questions, when you don't understand something, have them explain it to you, until you understand, or you feel comfortable understanding, by the way, which could take a few different questions. Curiosity, I would say that's probably been one of my greatest strengths, being never having that curiosity squashed in me as a child. Or maybe I'm just a very unusually curious person. As for ideas for businesses, I really honestly can't think of anything at the top of my head right now. Um,
No, I think it's good.
yeah.
Just the idea of being curious. I mean, and being okay with something of not knowing everything. I think
Yeah.
in this day and age, there's so many experts out there, and you think, oh, I have to be an expert of everything, but
No.
being okay. I mean, and that's where StoryFile comes in, right? Where you can ask those questions and not feel like you're going to offend someone because you're talking to AI right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You can have conversations that maybe you wouldn't even have with people. Like I've wanted to have so many conversations with so many different kinds of people, but I've been afraid. You either are afraid because they'll get angry, or you're afraid of hurting them. You're afraid of, just I don't know, but I would still love to be able to ask someone and have those conversations and understand
Hmm.
as much as I can.
Well, I guess I kind of have to ask you,
Yeah.
who's the first person off the top of your head that if you could have any conversation that you haven't had, it would be with a dead or alive?
Oh, dead or alive. Oh, that's hard. Gosh, I mean, we have a list of hundreds of people. We do, dead and alive. And it breaks my heart every time I have to cross one off because they've passed away, like Aretha Franklin, for example, or just
Mm.
different people. Um, God, conversation. Um, I don't know. Maybe a JFK or a Hillary Clinton, or um, John Lewis, uh, Gorbachev. I would have loved to have had a conversation with Nelson Mandela, or even his wife, for that matter, Winnie. Um, yeah, but I'm one of those people, I think, that I don't think there's been one person I've ever talked to in my life that I haven't learned something about.
Wow.
And so, whether that's, I mean, anyone really, the person that works at the store next to me behind the counter, It could be, one of my colleagues here that I learn from every day. A person that comes and fixes something in my house, I learn something every day. And I don't think it should ever end. And no matter there isn't a person, if you've lived a life, you have something to teach others, no matter what that story, your experience.
I totally agree. And I think that's the sad thing. I think a somewhat sad thing about our society is that not everyone believes that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. Any last words of wisdom that you want to put out there?
Gosh. Just keep asking questions, keep having conversations. Try and just listen, ask questions, listen, and then ask some more and listen some more.
Well, again, thank you so much, Heather, for being on the podcast. Hope everyone listening got some great nuggets. I mean, if simply you got just ask questions, be curious, and be okay with being curious, and being okay with basically not knowing everything, that's going to be great enough right there. I mean, and if someone makes fun of you for not knowing everything, that's probably a person that you don't want to be around. So,
That's so true.
don't worry about that. And if you can do one thing, go in the show notes, go find StoryFile, reach out to Heather. Thank you guys. Please subscribe, please share, and go find StoryFile. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.